So I think it's a good chance that we can have a group photo to be a memory. So please wear your best smile and stare at the camera so we can have a big picture. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, thank you. Our next part is from our experts. We are very honored to invite so many experts from different fields. She really knows these topics very well, and I think they can give our very good introduction of these topics. What is the situation right now on the global level, and what is challenge the young people can, to contribute their wisdom and power to help to solve it. And I'm also willing to hear maybe some, advices, even some tips to help the young people to prepare their proposals better. Okay, I will introduce the experts from the role of the topic. The topic one is poverty reduction and inclusive development. And our first expert is former senior business columnist of China Daily, David Blair. And he is an economist and writer specializing in banking and finance, macroeconomics, technological innovation, and healthcare. He was a senior business columnist for China Daily in Beijing, where he has writing over 250 articles, and he has a PhD in economics from UCLA and was a MacArthur postdoctoral fellow at the Harvard University's Center for Science and International Affairs. So we are willing to hear your insight, Dr. David Blair, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I want to commend you for your interest in poverty reduction and inclusive development. I think that it, along with avoiding war, are probably the two most important goals facing the world in the coming century. I think it's important to stress that poverty reduction and development are not the same thing. In most cases, especially for poorer countries, it's important to have development. It's important to create wealth to reduce poverty. But you can create wealth without reducing poverty. I mean, I look at my own country, the United States. In the last 40 years, median real wages have been completely stagnant. Actually, they're down this year. So if you look at 1979 compared to 2022, wages, median wages, half people below and half people are above, are lower now than they were in 1979. But the United States GDP has grown a lot over that period. So what happened? What happened is that wealth was transferred from labor to capital. The percentage of GDP going from capital going to labor, which when I was in graduate school in the 1970s, people thought was about fixed at 70%. Now it's less than 60%. That's a big change in the economy. So it's really important to avoid that. And I want to stress it wasn't driven by some accident of nature. It was driven by policy decisions. We had a low interest rate policy, created wealth for the people that already own wealth, financialization in the economy, lack of antitrust enforcement. There were a whole raft of policies that reduced the reduction in poverty, which should have happened, but didn't. So it's important to look at macroeconomic policies. I also think it's worth looking at China's policies. I've had the chance to look at a lot of villages around China. And what China is doing is creating opportunities for people. They create infrastructure. They teach people about e-commerce. They provide education and healthcare in many villages. So they integrate the urban and the rural areas. So they're taking advantage of the growth that's happening in the country and trying to bring it everywhere in the country. And they're not just, it's not primarily giving people money, it's giving them opportunities. So when you're thinking about this, it's important to think, how do I give people opportunities? I know as academics and policymakers, we might think we know a lot. But I think when you're thinking about your own country, it's important to know, to realize that you know less than the people that are actually in poverty. And you need to find out what it is that's actually driving their decisions. I think that's an important thing to always keep in mind. One thing I'd like to stress, which I'm as John said, I'm an economist, but I've been disappointed at the results of economics over my lifetime. I think one thing we missed is the central importance of culture and not destroying people's culture. You have to create a system that respects the culture that's there and encourages people to take advantages of the good parts of it. I want to recommend some authors, which I think are really important. The first is Robert Putnam, who is a member of the government department at Harvard University. He has a book called Our Kids from about 10 years ago. It might have been a little bit older, which looks at his hometown in Ohio and what a sort of a nice place it was when he was growing up in the 60s and how it's immersed in poverty now. And he looks at what happened. And a lot of it was policies that destroy the culture there. Another writer, which I respect a lot, is Edmund Phelps from Columbia University. He's written a series of 3 books, which I think are important: Rewarding Work, Mass Flourishing, and Dynamism in the last 12 or so years, which stress the importance of giving people jobs. I mean, giving them the opportunity to create their own jobs through entrepreneurship and through taking advantage of their own capabilities. Another one I strongly recommend is Shelby Steele, who is a great African-American, very great African-American economist. I really like his book, A Dream Deferred. He grew up in the south side of Chicago, which now is one of the poorest and most dangerous places in the world. But when he was growing up there in the 50s, he describes it as a pretty good place. And he looks at what happened there. So a lot of this has to do with things that just destroy people's respect for themselves, that they have jobs, that they have a culture that should be respected. Another great one, I think, is J.D. Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, talking about growing up in the Appalachian Mountains in the United States and the culture there and how it almost. And one more. There's a Chinese writer named Fei Xiaotong, sociologist. He's written a book called From the Soil, which is being used by Chinese experts to look at ways to preserve Chinese village culture without allowing people in the villages to advance, but at the same time preserve the good things of their culture.
Okay, thank you, Dr. David Blair. And I think your recommendation is very good reference for our young people. And next, I want to introduce another very senior professional, David Ferguson. He is the honorary Chief English Editor, Foreign Language Press, winner of the China Government Friendship Award and the Special Book Award of the China. And he is David Ferguson, the Chief English Editor and author of CICG. Please, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Quick.
Okay, great. Dr. Mao, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the Global Young Leaders Dialogue, thank you for this invitation. Since its founding in 1949, the People's Republic of China has achieved a number of significant successes. Among the most striking is the elimination of absolute poverty, achieved on schedule in 2021 as part of China's first centenary goal, itself a core element of the Chinese dream of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Over the last 8 years, through a strategy known as targeted poverty alleviation, almost 100 million people have been raised from absolute poverty and into moderate prosperity. To put this into context, there are almost 240 countries in the world. Only 14 of these have a population greater than 100 million. This is an achievement unmatched in human history. No other developing country has ever succeeded in raising its whole population out of poverty. And to be honest, I very much doubt that any ever will in my lifetime, and even perhaps yours, the younger generation. But the task does not stop there. As President Xi said in his speech for the Western New Year, to ensure that everyone leads a better life, we must never rest on what we have achieved, and there is still a long way to go. Protecting the least privileged in any society is a work without end, with two goals. First, to make sure that none falls back into the trap of poverty, and second, to make sure that their lives continue to improve at the same pace as the rest of society. In rural China, officials have moved on from talking about poverty alleviation. The focus has shifted to rural revitalization. Instead of strategies to raise people out of poverty, they're working on strategies to guarantee inclusive development. This is something of particular importance to me, as I am currently writing a book on Gansu's rural revitalization, based on what I learned on recent visits to Gansu province. And it was interesting to listen to David Blair, because obviously his experience in rural China very much mirrors my own. Now, the people of China have always valued and striven for peace, but the world today is riven with conflict. There are military actions underway at the moment in several theatres. Some are being given enormous attention by the Western media, others are being ignored. This is the same media that over the past 3 years, while China was in the process of winning the final battles in its war against poverty, has succeeded in creating an unprecedented level of anti-China hostility among its audiences. This needs to change. Young people are by nature curious and idealistic. They're much more likely to want to make friends with people from foreign lands than to fight with them. Their thinking has not been distorted by years of media propaganda designed to turn potential friends into enemies. They represent our hope for the future. Whether you're from China or a visitor from elsewhere, I would like to call on you to study the story of China's poverty alleviation and inclusive development, to understand it, to raise it high and to use it as a weapon, not as a weapon of war, but as a weapon of peace. Use it to show China's strengths to young people from wealthy and developed countries, to show them what China has achieved and how it has been done. Use it to teach young people from underdeveloped countries how they too can battle poverty in their countries and achieve sustainable growth. I think the audience here are the right people to answer this call. Together, you can make the world a better place. Together, you can help to build a global community of shared future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. David Ferguson. I think a very good speech, and I know you are writing a book right now. It's talking about the poverty reduction. So we are very looking forward to this book coming soon. And since I know our expert, one of our experts will have an interview later, so I have to change the topics wrong. And so we go to jump to the topic 4. The innovation drive and the digital economy. And I would like to firstly invite the Andy Mock, who is also the commentator of the CGTN and he is an expert on the technology, and he also joined us WiseDemo Campaign last year. And I really thank you for your contribution to the young people's cultivation. So I would like to invite Andy to give our elaboration on this topic.
Great, thank you very much. Can everyone hear me? John, can you hear me?
Yes, great.
Okay, great. So, well, thank you. It's a privilege and an honor to again be part of the program this year of WiseDemo. I want to congratulate Mabel and everyone else involved. John, you too. I focus on technology, as you said, and one of the hot topics that people around the world, governments, policymakers, executives, investors, and I think also young people as well, are focused on is not just technology, but the technology competition between the US and China, and whether China can weather this competition and maybe even thrive and ultimately succeed. So I want to talk a little bit about this. So despite seemingly formidable obstacles, especially in critical areas like semiconductors, we're seeing China overcome the hurdles being thrown up by the US, because ultimately technological advances depend really on only two things: money and brains. And as China's economy continues to grow and is on track to surpass the US's, and it continues to open up and attract global investment, the economic resources devoted to R&D will also surpass the US's. Apple and Tesla are only two of the more high-profile examples of the commitment of global businesses to R&D in China. Similarly, China's scientific brain power is not only homegrown, but increasingly foreign, as scientists around the world more and more see cutting-edge research opportunities in China and want to work with increasingly world-class Chinese colleagues. And this is something I've seen for myself firsthand recently. I was invited to a meeting hosted by Premier Li Keqiang, and there were a number of people affiliated with the Chinese Academy of Sciences there. And what was interesting, that's not surprising. What was very interesting was many of them were from overseas, whether from Italy, whether from Switzerland, other parts of the world. So again, we can see the brain power in China growing. But the real advantage China has is its government. In the startup world, and I have experience as a startup investor as well as in advising startups in China and elsewhere. But in the startup world, there's a saying that a mediocre product with mediocre technology, but with excellent distribution, will beat an excellent product with mediocre distribution every time. Because of China's unique system of government, any given technology can be developed, commercialized, piloted, and disseminated much more efficiently. 5G and EVs, electric vehicles, are two of the more well-known examples. But the next generation of the internet may be even more profound, as these new standards will drive development not only in China, but around the world. So given China's economic heft, its growing pool of world-class scientific brain power, and unique ability to develop, coordinate, and roll out new technologies from 5G to central bank digital currencies like the digital yuan, it makes more sense to work with rather than try to oppose or hinder China's technological rise. So as a message for the young people listening today, I would encourage and invite you to think about these issues around technology and technology competition if you're not already, and suggest that this could be a very fruitful topic, not only to contribute to the overall development of the world, but for your own personal and professional development. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. I think your opinion is very valuable. I also think, the innovation on technology itself is important, but I think it's even more important, if not, is to how we can cooperation on the technology is also very important and need the innovation solutions from the young people. Okay, thank you, Andy. And another next expert I want to invite to elaborate this topic is Maureen Huang. He's the vice chairman of Huang's Group and CEO of Hong Hing Group. After graduating from the university, Huang founded his own fast food chain business. At present, there are more than 600 chains in China. He is a member of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. He expanded his business interests by investing in retail-driven and technology-enabled companies while engaging as an angel investor. So we are really honored to invite Maureen Huang to join us. Since we know the 2 sessions is coming, he must be very busy. So Maureen Huang, what's your elaboration on this topic? Thank you.
Well, Mabel and distinguished friends and also the young achievers, hi. I want to say hi to everyone. It's great to be here to see you guys again. I remember that I've actually attended one session in Beijing with some of you. And we talk about actually also technologies and personal growth and also entrepreneurship in China. Well, I think, the world really needs better leaders, right? We see the mess we're in right now. And I think it's the result of lack of leadership, especially in politics, right? So how do we do better? So we need to rely on youngsters like you. You learn, you embrace changes, you appreciate, different cultures, you make friends from all around the world so that you were able to develop a much better international perspective. And hopefully, in some years forward, you will become, the president of the US, okay, chairman of multinationals and helping, leading the human beings, to really transform. I'm actually in a more the optimistic side, right? Many friends, especially during the COVID crisis, have gotten to be very pessimistic. Well, there are changes. There are always challenges. It depends on how we see it and how we embrace changes and how we capitalize our strength, right? So looking at the post-COVID world and where the opportunities are, right? So I think many of you are actually residing in China or planning to work in China afterwards, right? Or maybe based in China to conduct international business. So I think understanding how technologies, what we call social medias, and obviously John and Mabel always mention, right, the directives on the China strategies is actually very important. And today, Mabel asked me to specifically talk about technology changes, right? Well, I'm actually a pretty good person to talk about technology, not because I'm an expert, but actually, how I've actually benefited from technologies and how I actually suffered before. Many of my internet Mongol friends about 15, 20 years ago used to call me a dinosaur. Marvin, you're the dinosaur. Why? Because I actually do not really look up to technologies. I never imagined the internet. Back then there wasn't really a lot about artificial intelligence and 3D printings and even what we call biotech transformation. But I look down to them. I never imagined these technologies would ever transform my businesses. My businesses are all very basic. We do farming, we do restaurants, we do food manufacturing, and we do FMCG manufacturing, right? But in short, I've actually missed out, the 3G transformation, the 4G transformation. And at the end of the 4G transformation, I realized that I got to, learn. I missed out so many opportunities. I might have made billions of dollars if I have participated in some of the deals that if I have the insight to do so. So, and so about 5-6 years ago, I started a direct investment company and also a VC, venture capital, specializing in investing in all black tech, high tech. So I think in the past 4 years, we have invested in probably about 35, 40 different companies. Different companies. And many of them have went and gone public very well. And I think two you must know, Smart Sense and SenseTime. So that's is mind-boggling for me and allows me to use technologies to look ahead of time and embrace what I have and use them in my traditional businesses. So that's actually a great idea. So I would recommend and actually encourage every one of you, to have even more open-minded to technologies. There are things that are changing so rapidly, right? Using 2 techs and you can form a new business model to overwhelm the old. And hopefully, as you study more, you keep open-minded, you will be able to, leverage technologies and social media to create your own business model inside your own company. Anyway, and at last, right, Mabel's mentor and mentees program is great, right? And my VC is always looking for new investment. So anything that you feel interesting, a very good business plan, please look me up, through Mabel. We're going to talk about it, in Beijing later on. All right, all the best, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, President Huang, and I think your briefing is very good. As a very successful entrepreneur and also investor, I think the sense of the bridge, the technology with other business is very important. Next, I will go back to the topic 2. It's COVID-19 fight and public health, and we are honored to invite the Professor Guo Yan. He is the professor of School of Public Health of Peking University. She is also the chairman of the Public Health Professional Committee of the China Health Economics Association, the vice chairman of the Chinese Social Medicine branch of the Chinese Preventive Medicine Association, the vice chairman of the Chinese Society of Global Health, Chinese Preventive Medicine Association. Okay, please, Professor Guo.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. It's my great honor to join this meeting. And very happy to see public health and as a topic of this WiseDemo Campaign 2022. After COVID-19, public health became a very popular word. And public health is one of the important areas of global development. As Madame Sun said in the beginning, among the 17 SDG indicators, public health is an important indicator that is ensure health life and promote well-being for all at all ages. It covered infectious disease, non-communicable disease, injury, health system, and the universal health coverage as well. The pandemic of the COVID-19 has attracted attention, which has far exceeded the health field, including the technology, social economic, we just discussed before, diplomacy, and the other field. The importance of public health are well recognized. From the COVID-19 pandemic, we can see the challenges facing global health and global health governance. There are following characteristics. The first, COVID-19 is the largest human infectious disease outbreak in a century with a rapid spread. The number of the cases in the world has reached 432 million and caused 4.95 million died. It affected 212 countries or regions. The number of the infectious deaths and the duration have far exceeded the Spanish flu. The second one, developed countries have become hardest hit areas. Usually, the outbreak of infectious disease happened in developing countries like Africa, East Asia, and South America as well. However, for this pandemic, a larger number of the cases occurred in developed countries, including Europe and the United States. The third one is a double burden of disease. Because of the run on medical resources due to the pandemic, many patients with a chronic disease are not treated in time. Chronically ill patients are the main victims, especially for aging, women, and children as well. Another one is health system is being challenged like never before. Human resources, health financing, health technology, health information system, and the service delivery, model of health service delivery, and also social determinants of health accelerate, separate the epidemic. For example, the globalization, urbanization, aging, and
It's internet is not very well, maybe. Okay, maybe Professor Guo can talk more later. We must catch the time schedule, which is already left behind. Okay, we will go to the topic 3, that climate change and green development. And we are very honored and very thank you for we invite the Miss Wu Changhua. He's joined us from the US, I guess, and he's the China director of the Office of Jeremy Rifkin and the vice chair of Governing Council Asian Pacific Water Forum. And she is also an advocate of low carbon solutions for Chinese enterprises and an expert who has long focused on the analysis of China's environment and development strategies. So Ms. Wu, thank you for joining us, and please give us our elaboration and suggestions to the young people.
Sure, thank you, John. Hello, everyone. Greetings from Washington, DC. Delighted and honored to be part of the WiseDemo campaign, and definitely look forward to learning your smartest ideas, proposals, solutions, and contribution to tackling climate change and promoting green development. Let me first set the context. The planetary life support systems are crumbling under our feet. Water, air, life on land and in the ocean, plants, animals, and microbes, our forest and the climate systems, you name it. Human beings as a species on Earth continue to overshoot the carrying capacity of nature and overdraft our ecological footprint budget. Every year, we live in debt to nature, and the debt has quickly risen to such a level that we could only default. This is devastating. If the trend is not halted and reversed in a timely manner, the age of extinction will define our time in history. How urgent is this climate change crisis we're talking about here today? The most recent United Nations report draws a stark picture on the canvas, warning us not only the Earth is already on fire, but the trend is becoming uncontrollable. Wildfires that have devastated California, Australia, and Siberia will become 50% more common by the end of the century. The year of 2030 will witness a 14% increase in extreme wildfires and 30% increase by 2050. Besides wildfires, extreme and prolonged flooding and droughts are expected to escalate too. The losses and damages are daunting, and many amount to more than $1 billion each disaster hit. Last year, the historic record flooding in China's Henan province took away more than 100 lives, with a total economic damage price tag estimated at $30 billion. So what is the narrative of the day then? It is imperative for us, including you and me, to recognize that the future cannot in any way be aligned to today's economic logic. We have to recognize that we are on a finite planet and we have to work within planetary limits. Where the work needs to happen is to try to find new ideas about what living, work, food, shelter, energy, fashion, mobility, production, and consumption can be that would dramatically reduce our overshot footprints, retrieve to within the planetary boundary, and bring back harmony with nature. There's no doubt that we would need materials and technology, but more fundamentally, it's a question of culture and governance. We know that materials and technology are never going to solve all the problems we're facing. However efficient, however regenerative they could be, they will not undo the negative effects we've already imposed on nature within a short period of time. We have to radically reduce in scale our carbon footprints, halt and reverse loss of nature, remediate the damages, and chart a new course of development that is resource efficient and circular, climate and environmentally friendly, and resilient and secure. Chinese culture likes to use metaphors of the rising sun in the morning to describe the dynamics and rhythm of youth that hold hope for the future. So welcome on board on this journey towards a shared and sustainable future. And I'm very excited to have the opportunity to work with you all on this important campaign. Together, let us make some difference. Thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you, Ms. Wu. It's very, I think, informative, very dense speech, and a lot of data, and I think really explain how emergent of the climate change and other environment issues. And next, I want to invite another professor. She is the professor of School of International Studies, and she is also Vice Dean of the National Academy of Development and Strategy of the Renmin University. And Professor Xu is the inaugural Dean of the National Academy of Belt and Road Green Development, affiliated to the International Cultural Exchange Center. And she attended the high-level dialogue session of the 10th United Nations in Energy Sustainability Forum. But regrettably, she cannot, join us today. She recorded a video for us, please.
各位专家，各位青年学者，我是钟。今天非常高兴，也非常荣幸。
of Renmin University of China and a professor at the School of International Relations. I'm very pleased to represent the National Development Institute of Renmin University of China to participate into this campaign. In today's world, countries are more interconnected and interdependent than ever. And they live in the same time and space where history and reality meet with each other, and they are becoming more and more of a community with a shared future where you have me and I have you, and development is a common problem for all mankind. Therefore, global development community with a shared future WiseDemo campaign is very meaningful and wide. The National Academy of Development and Strategy of Renmin University of China, as the first batch of the Pilot Institute for the Development of the National High-End Think Tanks in China, ranked first in the top 100 Chinese university think tanks, and become the only university think tank that entered the first grade in the first comprehensive evaluation of national high-end think tanks. And we contributed a lot to the global governance and mutual learning of civilizations. And currently, the dividend between the different civilizations and cultures become wider and wider. So in 2021, in the UNGA, President Xi has highlighted the importance to stimulate more powerful, greener, and specialized development of the shared future, emphasizing the speed up development to accomplish the 2030 UN SDG agenda to make the balance of the development of the global governance and the different sources of the world. So it is important to say that the common development is the common aspiration of China and China's leadership, and also which marked a very important manifestation of China's admiration, which also the vivid manifestation of the dream of China. In face of these challenges, I believe that the international youngsters, in terms of promoting international development, will provide more innovative ideas and advices of modernized features. As long engaged in sustainable development in China, I'm very happy personally participating to this campaign, which is very meaningful cooperation campaign for international interconnectivity. So I'm very happy, and I hopefully that we would see around the world more and more international views and young talents would come together, and the future generation will have more power in terms of the inclusive development, focusing on the poverty reduction, focus on the public health improvement and interconnectivity development. So young people, you are the hope of mankind in the future. You are the new momentum of the world development, and you are the backbones of the world in the future. So on behalf of Renmin University of China, on behalf of my school, National Academy of Development and Strategy, I'd like to wish all the youngsters and young talents a boom with more wisdoms. Thank you.
Thank you for Professor Xu. And our last topic is open cooperation and interconnectivity. And we are honored to have the Professor Liu Hongwu. He is the Dean of the Institute of African Studies, Zhejiang Normal University. And he is a very renowned expert on the African study. And in 2009, Professor Liu was awarded the China-Africa Friendship Contribution Award and the top 10 Chinese people who moved Africa by the Chinese African People's Friendship Association. And he is also praised as an old friend of the African people. Okay, Professor Liu, it's your floor.
谢谢。
Thank you.
非常高兴
I'm very honored and very pleased as a mentor participated into today's launch event of WiseDemo Campaign 2022. So many years ago, as a student, I was visiting for study in Africa. Just like other African young people, I highly value the development of Africa in the past 30 plus years as a teacher teaching in university. Young people from China, from Asia, from Africa, they work together, and I personally have trained and taught a lot of African people or talents and young people. I think they stand for the future, be it the youngsters from Africa, China, Asia, or Middle East, or wherever, they actually are all excellent. They can create more opportunities in the future. As we know that the world of today, in developing countries, the populations are featuring with the dominance of young people. In actually a relatively long time, in the least developed countries, the percentage of the young people increased. For example, 1.4 billion population in Africa, 60% of them are between, actually below 24. Probably going forward, 20 years later, the total population will be 2 billion. Most of them will be very young. So the future development of Africa, to some extent, actually is the problem of the development of the youngsters. But right now, the young people in Africa are faced with a very challenging situation. In most of the African countries, 70% of the young people are job-free. They are jobless. They don't have a vocation. They don't have a fixed job. 30 plus countries, half of the youngsters actually are having no access to the preliminary education. So about many years ago, when I was visiting Sudan, 80% of the kids are illiterate. It's a very serious reality for African countries. And even 10 years after that, in South Sudan, well, China initiated the first program for the elementary education, middle school education, university education as assistance to South Sudan. So President Xi, in last year, in the 76th UNGA, on this occasion, when he was making a speech, and he was emphasizing the predominance and priority of development. And today, I also want to propose several advices for the references and considerations for the young people for their future creation. First of all, we have to highly value and pay high attention to the openness and collaboration and interconnectivity in terms of the education in developing countries, especially the North countries. The developed countries have to provide the platforms and opportunities and chances for the young people in developing countries access to education. And they can access to the education so that the future will be full of potential. And actually, education is always the priority for poverty eradication in China. 56% of the universal education has been realized in China. So 9-year compulsory education, 100% of the coverage has been realized 10 years ago. So education is a very important precondition for the career development of youngsters. China actually has become the first country or the top one country attracting the talents or young talents from African countries. So young people from Africa prefer China rather than US as the destination for study overseas. Right now, the cooperation or education cooperation between these two areas are actually contributing a lot to these achievements. And China's overseas or international students, so their population is like huge. They are studying here, and after completing their study, when they come back, and they will actually transfer the experiences of poverty eradication from China to their own homeland. So this is the interconnectivity. Another one is that we have to also focus on the infrastructure and also the traffic construction in the developing countries, especially for the remote areas and the rural villages. The traffic system has to be developed with the roads. The people and kids from the mountainous areas can have a way out. So these kids can have access to the education. In the past 4 decades, China's poverty eradication, especially highlighted and featuring in the construction of those traffic roads and bridges in these remote areas. So right now, the construction of the infrastructure and the roads and bridges to be built up in these remote and rural areas is very important, highly prioritized areas for China's poverty eradication. So it can guarantee, we have to guarantee the safety and the peace to provide peaceful environment and a stable environment for the young people to develop their career, because in the unstable or unstable areas, that they would have no opportunity and no chance to survive even. So I think this is the precondition, and the international community have to action on that. In the Global Development Initiative, President Xi has set up 2 priorities: priority for development, priority for action. So I hope that this WiseDemo campaign can be more pragmatic and can be down to earth, can provide actual access to these youngsters in the world. Thank you.
I think your study area the China Africa cooperation, I think maybe set a good example for international stability on the open cooperation and interconnectivity, and you especially emphasize education. Yeah, we think is very important issue for the young peoples. And Professor Guo, I think we just the internet is not stable. Maybe you can have 1 minute to give some advice or the tips to the young peoples on the proposals.
I'm so sorry, my computer has had some trouble. I don't know when at a trouble it is, but for 1 minute, I think we can face those different challenges for domestic and international. For example, those, let's see. Okay, for those challenges, I start from characteristics. The COVID-19 is the largest human infectious disease outbreak in a country with a rapid spread. The number of cases in the world has reached 432 million and caused 4.95 million died. It's affected 212 countries or regions. The number of infectious deaths and duration have far exceeded than the Spanish flu. And the second one, that's the developed countries has become to hardest hit areas. Usually outbreak of infectious disease happened in developing countries. However, a larger number of the cases occurred in the developed countries, including Europe and the United States. And the third one is double burden of disease. Because of the run on medical resources due to the epidemic, many patients with the chronic disease are not treated in time. Chronically ill patients are the main victims, especially for aging women and children. And the health systems is being challenges like never before. Human resources and including and the health financing, health technology, health information system, and the service delivery, and the determinants of health, social determinants of health accelerate the spread of the epidemic, globalization, epidemic like globalization, urbanization, aging, and health equity encourage greater challenges like encounters greater challenges like vaccine inequities. So those issues preciously reflect a major challenge facing global health. Health inequity, double disease burden, health systems, social determinants of health. So I think for those of kind of challenges, we can choose as our topic research. And also international collaboration. Looking forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Wu, and we welcome our young peoples can to tackle these challenges in your proposals. And in the next session, I will invite our this year we actually invite many partners to jointly cooperate with us to support the young peoples to prepare their proposals. So we invite the representatives from our some collaborative partners. And firstly, I want to invite the Vice President of the Beijing Foreign Studies University, Mr. Jia Wenjian, to give a speech. And he is from July 2006 to March 2015. He served as the Dean of the German Department of the BF SU, and since September 2013, he has been working as the Vice President of BF SU. His teaching and research areas include German language and culture and intercultural communication. He won various prestigious awards, named the State Level Teaching Award, second prize, the Beijing Municipal Level Teaching Award, first prize, the Beijing Municipal Level Outstanding Teacher. Wow, it's very impressive bio. And Vice President Mr. Jia, it's your time.
谢谢各位嘉宾、同
Thank you,
仁、
distinguished guests, colleagues, and young friends. Good evening.
很高兴能
Very happy
北京外国语
on behalf of Beijing Foreign Studies University and myself
共同体
to
国际青年智慧行动线上推介
attend this online launch event of the WiseDemo Campaign of GYLD. I've been learning in Germany, and working in Germany for 10 years plus 1 day. It's fair to say that I'm a participator of the Young People's Career Development and also the promoter as well. In 76th, the United Nations General Assembly President Xi has proposed the GDI and the setting of the community with a shared future for mankind, and making it clear about the future direction of the world development. Beijing Foreign Studies University actively responds to the global development initiative, continuously implementing the concept of the strengthening the campus with talents, developing the university with academics, and establishing a school university, a global university, and around the goal of building an international characteristic and high-level and comprehensive world-class foreign studies university. We have attracted a lot of talents from 104 full-time foreign teachers from 61 countries, and they are telling the story of China, Beijing stories, promoting the interactions between the different cultures. In last June, 3 representatives of the young foreign teachers participated into the GYLD. Under this GYLD, they are participating in a lot of campaigns and also the activities. President Xi Jinping in August replied in a letter to encourage international young people to strengthen the exchanges and the mutual learning and contribute their strength and wisdom to promote the community with a shared future of mankind. And in the same year, in September of the same year, in celebration of 18th anniversary of the RSU, President Xi Jinping replied to the veteran professors, including the old Canadian expert Issa Best of our school, expressing the hope that these veteran or senior professors will play the role in teaching and mentoring and promoting the inheritance of the great dreams and improving education and cultivation of talent. Young people means the future of the world, global development, and the building of the community with a shared future for mankind is very inspirational. And I'm very happy to see that young people from my university are participating to this course, providing their innovative proposals. Community with a shared future and global development International Youth WiseDemo Campaign is innovative, and we are also providing our advices featuring our university's language learning and foreign studies to this platform. I'd like to wish this campaign a great success and with fruitful results. Thank you.
I hope the students from BFSU can actively join this campaign, and hope the students can get selected. Okay, next I would like to invite another very respectful professor who is, devote his energy to the young people cultivation, and who is also witness the launch of the GYLD program and give this program very great support. He is executive. He's Professor Pan Qingzhong. He's executive dean and professor of Swartzman College of Tsinghua University. His research direction include corporate governance, enterprise development, Chinese economic history, and research on the Belt and Road Initiative, etc. Chinese and English courses taught, and also taught management, economics, corporate governance, management information system, and introduction to management and management practice, etc. And he is also joining us from the US very early. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Pan, please.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And good morning, good evening. And first, I wish everyone happy Year of the Tiger and plus world peace. You know, it's not an easy time today, this time. And I saw Mr. David Ferguson drink champagne on the screen. And it looks like we celebrate what we achieved, right? In the last 2 years after we launched the program. Indeed, we do need to celebrate. So it's a very successful program, very successful. And especially we got the President Xi Jinping's letter and greetings to our international students. And so our Schwarzman College scholars involved since the beginning, and in the last year and a half, as Dr. Miao and Madame Sun mentioned, a lot of activities. Our scholars do learn from this, and I think that program GYLD will change their life, and through whole bunch of experiences, and we'll continue to do that. And our Schwarzman College is a similar program, and is also gathering all the international scholars from all over the world, and with a study in Tsinghua, and with a master's degree, and we have 80% international scholars and 20% of Chinese, which they can help each other and learn each other, exactly like GYLD. And Schwarzman College, after you join the GYLD, you can apply Schwarzman College as well, and we'll see. And we can give you more and more experiences. And I know, so you apply GYLD, and also the Schwarzman College is not easy, but you can try. 1% opportunity, you have to do 100% effort. That is the leadership. That's our program's meaning. And hopefully we can get you in our 2 programs. Again, GYLD and the Schwarzman College. And what Schwarzman College, being the partner, what we can do for this GYLD, because today is launching today, the program. And as Andy Mock mentioned, 2 key things in the innovation, the technology, the money and the brains. So we can provide the brains, but so I doubt we cannot provide money or not, but we try. And in my background is a lobby, is a forum of a Schwarzman College. 3 things we can provide. First, we have scholars. We can have a mixed understanding each other. So I believe if we understand and learn each other, being the future leaders, like all of you, the future leaders, in the next 20 years later, you know, that Russia and Ukraine will would not be conflicted, because understanding each other, right? And so that's we can do. The first, provide the students. Second, the faculty. We have a lot of faculties and a lot of lectures. I just finished the lecture, and we got the founding dean from Blaviska School of Government from University of Oxford, and sharing her experience and thoughts with our scholars just before this this event, this launching program. And so the faculty's lectures allows in Tsinghua and the GYLD scholars can join everything happen in our Schwarzman College. Third, Tsinghua is a tech and science-oriented university for a long time. I have a lot of labs. We have a lot of cutting-edge technologies in the school. All of this open for our GYLD scholars. That's why Dr. Miao and Dr. Wang Huiyao and come to Tsinghua, and we have a very, very tight collaboration so we can share all the resources together. So best wishes to everyone, to applicants, and to everyone. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Pan. You really provide a wide range of resources to the GYLD community.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean Pan. Yes, say hi to you. Greetings from Beijing. Thank you for your opinions and your support at the very beginning of GYLD initiative. I remember at the end of 2020, the year of 2020, you participated in our initiative, and you got great support from you, from the Schwarzman Scholarship of Tsinghua University. Like you mentioned, there are three supports from you. First is your students, your international community. The second is your faculty. Third one is the facility from Tsinghua University. That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you all the collaborative partners. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Since our the last speaker Jacob will leave at 9, I have to change the run again to invite the Jacob. He is actually the GYLD member, and he is the selected proposals of last year WiseDemo campaign. Maybe he can give us more advices from his failing. Okay, Jacob.
Thanks very much. So, John, I'm not sure if there's a way I can share my screen since, as I told you, I made a PowerPoint, but I'll just put it up now and maybe you can see it as it is. Thanks very much for inviting me, and I've really appreciated hearing all the presentations. I work at the publishing company Springer Nature, which is very proud to publish books from the Center of China and Globalization, but also about the Sustainable Development Goals in general. And a lot of the topics that we've talked about today, from poverty alleviation to technology to climate change, really closely to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which also coincide with a lot of China's developmental goals. So I'll just kind of try to move through this relatively rapidly, but we're a huge international publisher. We publish a terrifying 11,000 new books every year. And of course, you might know Nature, the science journal. So Springer Nature is a big part of what we do. In fact, the majority of our work in China relates to hard sciences, such as the science, technology, engineering, and math, and publishing that. But economics, politics, and social thought of the kind that CCG is so well known for is also a key part of our work. So what are we doing for the SDGs, and why are we trying to work together with GYLD and CCG on it? We hope to be the premier publisher worldwide for research on ways to deal with these global problems, whether they're pandemics like the COVID pandemic, or climate change, or problems of war and peace. So we hope to publish the best work about this all around the world. We try to participate in kind of non-publishing related events to bring together new ideas and researchers. I guess my own personal participation in GYLD can demonstrate how that works. And of course, like many companies around the world, and I'm sure CCG, we do our very best to make our business sustainable and cut down on our environmental impact. One great example of what we do, we recently have published this book, Consensus or Conflict, which is at almost 150,000 downloads now. But we also, with the help of CCG, have published a book by Kishore Mahbubani of the National University in Singapore. It's been out for a month, but has nearly 1 million downloads. So we're really proud of publishing books and research like this, whether it's from China, Asia, or all around the world, that can give people new ideas for how we can address these kind of global challenges. Now, I wanted to share about the trip that GYLD actually invited me on. It was last spring to Guizhou province. It was very, very memorable and allowed me to see China's anti-poverty campaign up close, as well as the FAST telescope, and here in the picture, the Big Data Valley. So I learned with John and Mabel and all the other GYLD members exactly what China is doing and how technology is being applied to problems like poverty and healthcare. So it was really fascinating because I know Guizhou is the place of the barefoot doctors, but I actually really saw how a lot of the subjects that we're talking about today, whether it's technology or climate change, or actually they're kind of intersecting in many ways. And that was very, very clear in Guizhou, where I saw the encounter between China's anti-poverty campaign, the use of big data and new scientific technology, and of course, sites of Chinese political activism like Zunyi. So it was a really fascinating trip, and it's one I've shared with my colleagues. And although it didn't directly result in any books I published or anything like that, it has definitely informed my thinking about the unique ways that China and the Chinese governance can respond to these kind of challenges. And it's also inspired me to think about how these Chinese models can be applied in other countries. After that, I was invited, as John said, to participate in the GYLD annual forum. So I gave a very brief talk about my sense that climate change policy should be central in Chinese foreign policy. And I met many of the participants tonight, for example, Andy Mock, I remember chatting with. And it was a really wonderful night. The CCG had invited all these great dignitaries from around Beijing, business leaders, journalists, ambassadors. But they definitely made a point to provide a platform for, well, for myself, but a lot of other relatively young and ambitious thinkers who are trying to see how China and China's unique situation today can provide unique solutions to these global challenges. So I really appreciated that opportunity. As I said, I wanted to keep it brief because I know that I want to leave room for other speakers, but I'm looking forward to publishing many books. I'll probably be publishing 60 or 70 books this year, and almost all of them relate to these kind of challenges that GYLD members are looking at and that are part of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So feel free to scan this WeChat code and you'll find all the stuff that Springer Nature is doing for the SDGs. And please get in touch with me through John or Mabel, because I would really love to meet any and all of you and learn about your research. Thank you very much, CCG and GYLD.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. Yeah, he provide, Springer has set up a very good, content center of the SDG, and we can, reach to the amount of the Springer Nature publish the journal, the books, about the SDG. So when you prepare your proposals, maybe you can refer to it. And last but not least, I would like to invite our, very new partner, but very, I think, doing very good. Is Victor Hu. She is the co-founder and president of Scholar Network. Victoria is an adjunct lecturer at Tsinghua University, teaching English confidence workshops. She is also curator of the World Economic Forum's Global Shippers Beijing Hub, first cohort fellow of Tencent Think Fellowship, co-founder of Russia Student Association in China, and board member of Tsinghua SABRI Student Association. And actually, I attend the Scholars Annual Forum Agora, last year, and think it's very, very good, hold very good, and very focused on the themes, and very admire their works on the to provide platforms for the young peoples among the SCO countries. So I would like to invite Ms. Hu to give the speech, please.
Thank you, John. This is too much for the humble introduction, but thank you so much for inviting me today. And I think today I represent Scholar, but I also represent young people, which GYLD and WiseDemo Campaign is focusing on. And it's really an honor to speak along with and after so many renowned researchers and teachers. And I wish more young people will have the opportunity to learn from each of you. And I would like to be the one learning from each of the previous speakers as well. Well, from a Scholars, the youth community unites young people from the 21 Shanghai Cooperation Organization countries. We've been operating for the past 4 years, and I've really learned a lot about the SCO region. And SCO, as the organization which has 21 countries, also has almost half of the world population. And what is more important for us today, that among this population, there are more than 10 billion young people. And within this 10 billion young people, there are countries like India, Pakistan, there are Central Asian countries, including Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, which have the median age which is below 30 years old. And we have seen today with countries like Uzbekistan, where young people are already playing an integral role in the decision-making processes. So I really, as a Russian Chinese as well, somebody who grew up in Russia but have the Chinese roots, I care a lot about the region. And with Scholar community, we have tried in the past 4 years to build this community based in all the different countries of the SCO. So today we have 9 hubs running in 7 different countries. We've organized more than 450 events where 16,000 people have participated. And our goal is to really build the opportunity for this 10 billion youth in the SCO region. And we are always open to collaborate and really happy to collaborate with programs like GYLD and WiseDemo Campaign, where we can really bring these opportunities to the young people, and where everybody, not only from the SCO or Belt and Road region, but also from the world, basically, will have the opportunity to raise their voice and have the opportunity to bring their ideas on the platforms like WiseDemo Campaign to be heard and to have the opportunity to implement their ideas into life and bring these solutions into actions. And I hope that with young people taking an integral role in the future in the development of not only our region and neighboring countries, but also the world, will do it in peace and have more people open their opportunities to even more people to collaborate and have their education. And yeah, this is all that I wanted to say. So thank you so much for the invitation. I think these days are a bit hard for somebody with the Russian background. So I just really hope that we'll have peace for everybody in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Victoria. And I know your network and actually incubate some program or some proposals very successful. And I hope, maybe you can recommend some program to join the WiseDemo campaign, so we can work together to really make some actions to the global governance and global peace. Yeah, right. Okay, our next part actually is a Q&A session, but right now we do not receive too much and we do not have too much time. And one question is from our member Zun is, can you share some tips on how to write a successful proposal for WiseDemo campaign? Mabel, do you have any suggestions to on good proposals?
Yes, actually, we would like to have the creative and innovative proposals, not just like the format, the normal format. It's a paper or article. You can be projects, initiatives, or even a poster or video. The format is diversified. We need it diversified. So if we would like to initiate your own project, we can give you some suggestions through the emails. And of course, according to the experience, we had some tips for the young professionals to initiate those proposals, such as you need a very specific topic. That is very important. Of course, it's under our rules, just we released, and our topics. Secondly, if you have a team that is more acceptable for us, I guess that is a teamwork, represent a group of people. Of course, it's we would like to select those internationalized views as Global Young Leaders Dialogue. The character, the first our character is the globalized. So we need that is international work and the internationalized views. I don't want to limit our image on the proposals. Just give some tips. Internationalized and the teamwork is much more acceptable and welcome for GYLD WiseDemo. And thirdly is, of course, it's about the macro topic, but specific angle and small micro angle is more convenient for the audiences and our experts to give you more suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mabel. I think it's very good tips. The first is, we do not set too much limits to the formats of the proposal. We think the idea is really matters. Just as Mabel said in the beginning, why we call it WiseDemo. Demo is a demo. We do not need it to be perfect. It just some innovative proposal related to the better global governance. It's all acceptable. And another Mabel said is teamwork. It's very important to prepare a very good proposals. So okay, I think you maybe have more questions, but we do not have more times. So maybe later we will create groups on our social medias. And so if you have any questions, you can ask from it, and you can also write email to the GYLD secretary, and we will willing to answer your questions. Okay, I'm very thankful again for all the experts and young peoples and audience online to join us today and till very late. We are kind of maybe half an hour left behind. So we really wish you have a very good weekend, and I'm very looking forward your innovative proposals. Thank you. Good night and have a good day.
Thank you, Dean Pan, Professor Wu, Professor Liu, President. Thank you all of you. Thank you our partners. Thank you, Ms. Sun. All of you, thank you very much. Thank you from people from Scholar and from Beijing. Foreign Studies University. All of you. Thank you.
And thank you all of
a lot of
staff.